thank you very much for the introduction and the excellent presentation that you just gave us. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. And quite frankly, this is thanks to BTB, who has organized this, has been talking to us now for a few years, meeting with us and discussing difficult topics. So I just want to thank BTB for organizing this, for the introduction, and for inviting me here. As I just said, right, BTB and Uber signed a partnership agreement already 2 years ago, and some at the time have called BTB crazy to do that, to start engaging with a company like Uber with all the topics that needed to discuss and the things that we agree on and also the things we disagree on. But since the very beginning, it was very clear that BTB was a union who wanted to get things done. And in the last 2 years, we sure have done a lot. We engage in social dialogue, and I don't think there is now a week that passes without interactions between us on certain driver topics or a question that pops up. So we've done a lot. BTB is present in our support center for drivers every Tuesday, and they started representing drivers in deactivation cases more and more often. And I think for that, the drivers are now better off in Belgium than they were. Again, I'm not surprised that BTB would be the union organizing a conference on the next big topic that is already there. It is AI, and it's going to impact all of us. It is going to impact transport, it's going to impact Uber, it's going to impact drivers using the Uber app, restaurants, couriers, and passenger. I also want to thank ETF, our global partner, for all the works that we are doing together with them, often behind the scenes. The most visible last thing that was on was the Charter on Courier Health and Safety, again, with the purpose to improve couriers' ways and health and safety in using our app. We clearly need to face that change. The change is here. I mean, the presentation we just heard showed us that it is here, and it has come so fast towards us, and it's still going to accelerate even further. We need to face it. We need to embrace it. We need to accept that it is here. Before we dive into AI, let me just take a 1-minute step back. Most of you probably know Uber very, very well already, but I just want to zoom out for a minute. Basically, Uber is a company that connects the physical, the real world, and the digital world, right? We help people move, we help get things delivered. This is what we do, and at the core of it, there is a platform. On the mobility side, we're active in approximately 70 countries globally. 23 of them sit in Europe. Our latest launch was in Denmark a few months ago, together with a taxi partner, right? I mean, a few years ago, a country launch by Uber with taxi was not something we would have seen or heard, but this is also a sign that Uber has evolved and is constantly evolving as a company, thanks as well to the discussions we have with unions, with drivers, with workers using our app. And we adapt locally, right? Sure, we're an American company, but our operations, our activities are very, very local. The drivers are local people. The couriers are local people. The passengers are a mix of local people and international. So we are very local and we adapt to the local environment. In India, for instance, you can get into a tuk-tuk on the Uber app. That's not something you can do on the Rue de la Loi. You can use motos in Brazil. So they are indeed, we adapt locally, and that is also shaped by the dialogue we have with local people and unions in these countries. And on the delivery side, of course, Uber Eats is the most prominent let's say, partner on the delivery side. Is the second largest delivery company. It's the largest delivery company outside of China. And it has also evolved, right? It used to be to get a meal from the nearby restaurant. You can now get groceries, you can get flowers, and more. So let's go to AI. As I just said, AI is a platform, right? A platform that connects the real and the digital worlds. And it has to adapt to the real world in real time. And this is where AI comes in. I'll say it up front, I'm not a tech expert, right? I'm a business leader, and I know probably less about AI than half the people in this room. But what I do is that I talk to drivers. I talk to drivers every day. I talk to drivers all the time, and these questions come to me, right? They see the development AI is making. Some of them are excited about it and say, cool, our job will be easier now. It's going to go faster. We're going to get matched more. We're going to do less empty trips, and they're excited. And others also bring concerns and questions and ask, okay, but how are you actually using AI? How does it actually get things better for us drivers sitting in cars? Maybe before we dive in, just a quick definition, and I think it was touched upon in the previous presentation. There are algorithms and there is AI. An algorithm, if you take the GPS example, is a very simple set of, you give an input, you get the same output. That's what I just explained. A GPS that we've used now for 20 years, you go from point A to point B, you get the same route. When you add AI on top of it, it reacts to real-time events, it reacts to traffic, road closures, issues that you can be on the route, weather events. This is where it comes in, and this is what we are using at Uber. But it also benefits driver, and this is our goal, right? I mean, we want drivers to benefit from these changes to get a better experience using our app. As I always say, I have two groups of customers. I have the passengers, which is a little bit the obvious groups of customers, but I also have drivers, right? I need to keep convincing drivers to choose our platform to perform their activities and not a competitor. So these are also a group of clients that I need to keep happy and engaged so that we can then provide services to the other group of customers, the passengers, or the people ordering at restaurants. So let me take a couple of examples. It's not like there is, let's say, a rigid AI that you plug onto the Uber app. It basically impacts different elements of the driver experience and life cycle on the app. Let's start with onboarding. Onboarding is basically what we call the process of, hey, I'm a new driver, I have a license, I'd like to enroll on the Uber app and start driving with the Uber app. For that, drivers need to submit a number of documents. And these documents, as I said, depends on the local context. But everywhere we operate, drivers need to upload documents, ID, driving license to perform passenger transport, and AI can really help get them on the road faster. Our goal is that for drivers, when they submit their documents, they should be approved as soon as possible so that they can hit the road faster. No driver wants to wait 3, 4, 5 days for a lengthy review process. When they're ready to go, they want to go, and AI can really help that. It can also help compliance, right? The platform is also responsible to make sure that actual drivers with the actual right to operate are active on our app, and AI can help detect fraudulent documents faster and better than what we used to be able to do. Then comes matching. What we call matching is basically you have a passenger requesting a trip, and it has to be matched with a driver that will carry out the trip. And at our scale, right, when we operate in cities where trips are ordered every second, many trips are ordered every second, we need AI to offer the trip to basically the best drivers. And what do we want to achieve there is to reduce the downtime for drivers. We don't want drivers to turn around or having to drive for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes to get to a passenger. And how we used to do it in the past was very simple, right? There's a trip request, we allocate it to the nearest driver. But we realized by just waiting a few seconds to not just say, okay, I'm taking the closest driver and I'm allocating the trip, I just look at whether there is a better combination of driver-passenger that basically makes it more efficient, smoother and faster for drivers to get to the passenger, you get to better results. Therefore, you have less empty trips, you have less maneuvers, and drivers can then conduct more trips and make more money. Routing, I touched upon it with my GPS example, is also at the core of mobility, right? You see it all the time. I came here this morning, the traffic in Brussels was even more atrocious than it was, but in real time, our GPS adapted to lead the driver to a better way. It changed actually 3 times during the trip, and the driver was quite positively surprised that we actually made it in a way faster time than he would expect it. What does that mean? I was happy, I was less stressed, I was then a better customer, and he was also happy to then be on the road, and he was already matched with someone else even before I left the car. It also improved safety, right? We've realized that left turns are basically high-risk events for a driver, right? You turn left, you don't see a passenger, you don't see a bike now in a city. This is where accidents happen. Our routing system has adapted the route that we suggest drivers to take by taking that into account, trying to minimize left turns. That's also something that only AI can do by absorbing that massive amount of information that is happening on the app to make sure that drivers get, again, faster on the road, match with better passengers, and are suggested a route that is safer for them. We also support EV transition, and we've committed a lot of resources to that. And we have developed, that is not live yet, it is now live in the US, an AI assistant to help drivers transition to electric. I mean, what I hear all the time when I talk to drivers is like, hey, cool, I'd love to drive an electrical vehicle, but after 400 kilometers, it's empty. That's what I do in half a day. And then it's going to take me an hour to charge because there is no fast charging in the center, because maybe the stations will be full, et cetera, et cetera. And if we are to help drivers make the jump and that transition that is massive for them, it is our responsibility to help them and answer the question to the best of our abilities. And there, the AI assistant that we've developed really does that and has really stimulated drivers to make the transition that they just needed sometimes the nudge to make. This is just a few examples of how AI is integrated in our app and how we strongly believe that it's going to make it a better experience for passengers and drivers alike. Again, my two groups of clients. But with all of that power, right, comes also some responsibility, of course, and we don't take that lightly at all. We're very committed to responsible, transparent, ethical AI. The last thing we do is to have hallucinations impacting drivers and putting their livelihood at risk. This is why we've set up an internal body of basically what we call the AI Law and Ethics Council, and they have set really high standards, standards for the policies that we apply and how we use AI and under what conditions can we do this. And you see a few here on the slide. I'm not going to read them for the sake of time, but we have done that already months or years ago because we knew we needed to do things right. We could not afford to get it wrong. We also have an internal team that basically uses this principle. We call it the Marketplace Fairness Team, and everything we roll out, product, processes that uses AI will be tested extensively, and we will make sure that we are using the right data set to see whether the outputs that we get are actually the ones that we set out to do, right? We check for biases, we check for data reliability. That fairness element is really, really central in the things we do, because what we really want to avoid at all costs is those hallucinations and the situations that would basically put, as I said, drivers' safety, drivers' livelihood, or drivers' work at risk. And these principles have been audited by external bodies who've concluded they are indeed solid, reliable, and will achieve what we set out to achieve. Of course, I cannot talk about AI without talking about autonomous vehicle, and I know that will raise eyebrows at a union event, because this is something that is coming, and it is something to some extent that is already there, right? For some of you who've been to San Francisco, for some of you who have been to Austin, now autonomous vehicles are part of the future of mobility, and I think we need to accept it, look at it with open eyes, and then engage in the right discussions to make sure that it also benefits worker. It is our strong belief that autonomous mobility will make demand for human drivers rise, not shrink. It is, again, another option for people to move around. 10 years ago, people would use their car for pretty much everything, at any time, for every use case. Then Uber came, then we integrated trains on the app, then we integrated micro-mobility, and of course, autonomous mobility is coming. I'm not here either to make grand predictions. I don't know how fast it will be coming, especially in Europe, but we need to recognize that the tech is there, the tech is improving, and it works. For some of you who have tried it, it is actually mesmerizing to be sitting in a car without a driver. But what we also see is that the expectations from the public is around safety is even higher. The safety standard for autonomous vehicle is much higher than for human, and it is right it is right for it to be like that. But our strong belief is that we need to start having these discussions together with unions to see how we make sure we embrace it, how we embrace that change without impacting workers. In closing, I'm just going to end where I started, with partnership. AI is moving very, very fast, and we don't have all the answers. None of us do. And I think the only way we will be able to harness the power of it is by working together, by continuing working together, by engaging on these difficult topics, of course, together with you, union leaders, but also with governments, academics, clients, passengers. Everyone will be or is impacted by AI. We need to keep the conversation going. I'm really happy this is a first step, and I'm certain that in our social dialogue with BTB, we will more and more talk about these topics going forward. Thank you very much.